Hello, Internet. Welcome to day 3 of the Fundamentals of Digital Photography with John Gringo on Creative Live. My name is Lorraine Lobdell, and I will be your host alongside Irfan Elijah.
Hello, Internet. Good morning.
All right, so we are going to have about 9 minutes of pre-show so that we can test our audio and video. And those of you that are already in the chat rooms, if you can let us know if you can see us and hear us, and also give us a shout out from where you are joining us from, we would really appreciate that. All right, I am so excited.
I am excited. Day 3, and boy, I feel like we've already had a full 5 days of content presented to us.
And Mr. Gringo, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
I'm really, really well. I'm very excited for today because you were up late last night. So I was kind of looking forward to what you have in store for us today.
Well, you know, I got word from kind of the head management that we're on, I might say, record pace here. We're doing very well, and thank you everyone for purchasing the class because it's doing very well. And so I wanted to beef up today's section. I thought it was maybe a little thin. And so I threw together a last-minute section, and I hope everything runs out very smoothly. There's a lot of working parts behind it, and so if there's a little tiny mistake, please don't take it too bad.
Well, I just love that you said it's a little thin, because I think maybe your idea of a little thin is probably a lot of information for the rest of us. So, but I know we have some fun stuff planned for a little later today.
That's right.
Hey, I want to say hi to our studio audience. We've got lots of smiling faces here today. Would you guys mind introducing yourselves and maybe saying your website and then something cool that you learned yesterday, perhaps? Just take it. Yeah. Who wants to go first?
Let's start with you.
Hi, I'm Lisa Castile. I'm from Portland, Oregon, and my website is gardenwindowphotography.com. And I had a great time yesterday. My mind was blown in a really great way. I really liked getting a better understanding of how everything in my camera was working and how all of the different settings the choices I was making with my settings, how they were all working together. And it just really, I think, gave me a better understanding of the fundamentals, like the class title. So it was great.
I'm Erin Miller, and my blog is erinmillerimages.com. And yeah, yesterday was amazing. I had to look back over my notes to see what all we covered because that was just overwhelming information. But especially learning about sensors and the difference between sensor sizes and actually seeing the difference in person between a full or even a crop frame sensor and the little tiny sensor that you get on cheaper cameras was wow.
I'm Jared Rogers. My website is rogersglobal.com. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter at Rogers Global. And just to kind of echo what's already been said, my mind was blown yesterday. And luckily, I was able to reset, get a new one. And the bucket is now empty and ready to fill it up again today with a lot of really good stuff. Talking about sensors yesterday in particular, just learning about, right down to the nitty-gritty of exactly how pixels work and how our sensors work. All of that was really, really interesting to me, and I feel like I've got a much better understanding now of why my camera behaves the way that it does. So yeah, now we're in harmony, and that's a good thing.
Hi, my name is Maria Pletska, and I don't really have a big web presence, so I'm not going to give my website. I'm still working on it. One really interesting thing I learned yesterday when we were talking about apertures is that even if you have a high-quality lens that goes down to maybe, say, f1.2 or something, that doesn't mean that you should always use that widest setting, even if you don't need a very wide depth of field, because the optimum acuity or the optimum sort of resolution or the sharpness will be in the middle of the aperture range. So that's something interesting. And also what you talked about with tilt lenses, I had no idea you could maximize depth of field that way by using the tilt lenses. That was pretty amazing.
Good.
Thanks.
Good to know.
Those tilt shift lens slides were fantastic.
Makes you want to use a tilt shift, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. Because I've actually never used one before either, so I'm really excited to do that. And I learned that it's pronounced bokeh.
Nice.
And I've been trying to practice that.
I got some confirmations on Facebook and through some emails that I was doing it correct, at least with what they think.
Okay, because I've been saying Bocas and Rattan, as I mentioned yesterday,
Yeah.
and
Same
I don't want
here.
people to make fun of me behind my back anymore, 'cause I'm pretty sure that's what's
I was saying this the same way,
Yeah.
so I'm in the same boat with you.
Well, sorry, go
I
ahead.
was going to say, what I learned yesterday is that after looking at all the sensors, I already want another camera. So, like, as soon as the sensors were being, like, discussed, I was like, oh, drool. Like, yeah.
I could use another camera or two. Well, I also want to welcome our giant, huge Creative Live audience from all over the world. If you guys want us to shout out your name and location, please hop in the chat room and tell us who you are, where you're from. And let's just go ahead and read off some of those right now. We have got Luis B. Hi from France. We are nearly neighbors. Oh no, he's talking to Bobu in that comment, not to us. I was like, oh, we're a little farther away.
The conversation between each
Yeah.
of us is already happening, and we love that. All right, we have Wrigley from Duke Center in Pennsylvania, and I Shoot Puppies in New York City.
Come on now.
I'm sure that's just his chat name and not what he actually does in
Exactly.
real life. We have got Digital Studio 5A. Good morning from Washington, D.C., everybody. And then we have Bobu, the person that the other person was talking to earlier. Hello from Ireland. So Ireland and France are practically neighbors. That makes a
I
little
like
more
that.
sense.
I like that. All right, we have Manish is joining us from India, and Rich is joining us from Manhattan.
We have got Well Studios. Good morning from Huntington, West Virginia. I can say that. And let's see here. We have Russ T, Nashville, Tennessee here. Hey, Russ.
Cool. And we have George A from Costa Rica, and Anoop is from Dubai is joining. It's good morning, Jessica. Anoop from Dubai. So hey there.
We've got the Old Nikonian. Hello. Actually, I think it's pronounced Nikonian, right? Right, John? Nikonian?
Well, it depends on where you're from.
Okay. And let's see here. I lost you. Oh, hello from Yorkshire, England. We've got Haley J. She just says Georgia, exclamation point. She's from the whole state.
Right on. Danny Regat is joining us from Singapore, and he says hi to talented John Gringo. And we have somebody else in Dubai joining us, and Rhonda Bertha is joining us from Western North Carolina.
All right, we've got Aura 1017 from Atlanta, Georgia, and we've got Andrew from Boston.
And Underland Images is in Venezuela.
My goodness, we have Yoko, starting with a J. Good morning from Helsinki, Finland. And we've got Constance from Ontario, Canada. Welcome.
And I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right, but
never
Zajir
do.
from Croatia. And Nikolay Ivanov from Bulgaria.
Rock Red 5 says, I'm from New Jersey. And then PSC Dreams is Pamela from Austin, Texas. Welcome.
All right, I love Austin.
I love Austin too, actually.
I know,
Yeah,
it's such a
fun
great
city.
place. Yeah, so much fun. And your name, Root, is joining us from Daytona Beach in Florida, and that's on Earth, they say.
Glad they clarified that. We've got Ugg Grumble from Denver, Colorado. We've got Cat C. Hello from Venezuela.
All right, and we have Wendy DCM from Belgium and Marissa from Puerto Rico.
All right, let's try this one here. We've got Parapaisi 2020 from Gulf Shores, Alabama. And we've got Your Name Root Meat, Daytona Beach, Florida. We could do a whole segment on just where
know.
these people get their names from.
I know, like the chat room there. All right, and just a couple of other shout outs from Israel, Netherlands, and Guatemala. John, you have a global audience here
Truly.
today.
I love that.
Very cool. All right, everybody, it is 9 o'clock, and you know what that means. It is time for us to get started with day 3 of the Fundamentals of Digital Photography with John Gringo. And if this is your first time joining in Creative Live, or if it is your 100th time joining us, we just want to say welcome and thank you for joining us from wherever you are. All right, I'm going to take you on a quick tutorial today about how to watch today's class, how to ask questions and chat, and how to purchase the course videos. There is one place to watch Creative Live, and that is creativelive.com. If you are anywhere on our site, just click the Watch Live button and make your selection for the video that's streaming. And you can also take us with you on the go today on your iPad, iPhone, or Android-friendly device. So no matter where you are, if you're running errands or if you're doing laundry, you can always have John Gringo with you all day today. All right, we're going to take a look at the live page, and you will see right underneath the screen, we invite you to be a part of the studio audience here. In addition to our in-studio audience here in Seattle, you guys have the ability to interact with John and ask your questions to John through Erfan and I. And on this live page, you'll see the option to access our interactive chat rooms and the best way to join the chat, and this is the best way to join the chat rooms. So just click on that button right there and it will open a new window with a few chat rooms, and there will be 3 tabs across the top, and we're going to take a look at those. The Creative Live Room is for on-topic discussion, and we invite you to have conversations with each other here that are on topic to what we are learning today in the workshop. And we have a huge community around the world, and it's kind of amazing to think of all the knowledge that you guys have that you can share with each other and answer each other's questions. And so it's kind of a great place to share your ideas with each other. The Creative Cues tab is for any questions you may have for John. This is the channel only for questions, and it's a one-way. And we have hosts behind the screen who are interacting with you in the chat rooms, and they are pulling out your questions for Erfan and I to pass along to John. And just want to say thank you to our off-screen hosts, because they are doing a great job in pulling out all the fantastic questions you guys have been having. Okay, and we are also looking for on-topic discussions, and you don't need to ask them multiple times, and we're just collecting those, and Erfan and I will get to those as soon as we can. And finally, we have the Creative Lounge, and you guys always have fun, and I hope you guys have a great time today, but this is where you guys can have all the off-topic conversations and discussions that you want. You can talk about where you live, your favorite kind of food like bacon, and your pets' names. All right, and along with the chat room, you can also ask questions via our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/creativelive, and you can also ask questions via Twitter using the hashtag GringoLive. All right, the whole purpose of Creative Live is to reach as many people around the world as we can with education and sharing the wealth of knowledge. And the way we work is that you can purchase the videos of this course and have them to download at your fingertips in bite-sized chunks and have with you forever. You can have those on your mobile device or on your computer. And during this workshop, during the live event, the price is $99. So if you choose to do that, it is $99 this week. All right, next we're going to take a look at the course page. Here you can enroll for free. Enrolling provides you with updates about the course, and you can also click the Buy Now button to purchase all 5 days of the downloadable videos at any time. And I also want to let you know that with the download of this course, you do receive John's PDF of his slides with the purchased course videos. All right, in addition, on this page is a button where you can purchase the course if you so choose. You see that right there. You can see here that the course is $149, but you get it $99 during the live event. Just hit the Buy Now button and you can add it to your cart straight from there. All right, and then here on the course page, you'll see all the different segments that we create. You can watch them or download them in bite-sized chunks so that you can find exactly what you are looking for, and we turn these around as quickly as we can for you. All right, we have some great prizes that we are giving away throughout this week, and there are 2 ways to win. You can enter on Facebook by going to our Facebook page, then look for the John graphic right there, and when you click on that, it will bring up a new window with an entry form. And once you're in that new window, this is where you put in your favorite tip or quote from John, and you can only enter here once per hour. However, you can enter as many times as you would like. You can also enter the contest via Twitter, and you can enter as many times as you want, as often as you like on Twitter. All you need to do is tweet your favorite quote or tip along with the course URL, which is cr8.lv/PhotoGringo, and make sure you're also following @CreativeLive as we notify the winners via Twitter. John Gringo has an extensive library of courses here at Creative Live, and all of his DSLR Fast Start classes are normally $49, but during this live event, they are all only $39. And we also want to let you know that if you go to the calendar right now, you'll see that John has a couple more classes coming up in just a few weeks. On March 4th and 5th, he will be presenting his Fast Start for the Nikon D600 and the Canon 6D. All right, and with that, I am very excited to welcome back to the Creative Live studios, John Gringo.
Thank you. All right, a quick note for the guys back in the booth. If you could get me to, I think, slide 4 or 5 on the keynote, that would be great. And for the in-studio audience, I told you that I had some learning projects, kind of homework for you to do. And this is something that anyone who does who purchases the class will get this. It's nothing too fancy, but what it is some learning projects so that you can go out and test your camera. And this is the step-by-step procedure on how to figure out, for instance, how good your ISO is, learning a little bit about depth of field, shutter speeds, and other things in your camera. So if you want something to do for the weekend and you kind of want a list of, well, what should I go do? It's not going to be beautiful pictures in some ways, but it's going to be learning how your camera said that you should be the master of your camera, and this will help you learn your camera. All right, so let's see. We are in the right spot, so let's get going. Today we're going to be talking about exposure. We have a very important day today because we have exposure and focus, and that's really the fundamentals, the core of the fundamentals, if you will, in photography. And so we got to get exposure right out in the field. Now, before we begin, I'd like to start with another little fun slide, all right? Always good to start the day on something fun. And people kind of wonder, what camera is the best camera? And it changes as their photographic life progresses. And different people are at different stages in this photographic life cycle. So I kind of want to explain what you can expect when it comes to equipment. Now, a lot of people will start off with a small point-and-shoot camera, and they get kind of an interest in photography, and they think that they would like to have a little bit more in a camera, and so they ended up getting an SLR camera. Okay, now usually they're a little scared off by the price, and so they end up getting it with the standard kit lens, and they very quickly learn that it's very limiting. So they get themselves the telephoto lens, and that's all well and good, but they get tired of switching lenses. Oh, I'm so tired of switching lenses. So what do they do at this point? They need to get a super zoom so they can stop zooming or switching lenses and just zoom back and forth. But they find out that this one, well, it doesn't really have the speed that they like, so they go out and they get a lens that has a faster aperture zoom but has less zoom range. But then they've lost some of the range that they used to have, so they have to go out and get a big telephoto lens. All right, at this point it's time to upgrade the camera because that entry-level camera just wasn't good enough. And now they decided they truly need a great wide-angle lens. And if they're going to do that after watching yesterday's fisheye section, maybe they're going to go splurge on a special birthday present and get a fisheye lens. And at which point they realized that the faster zoom lens that they had really wasn't the fastest one out there. There is another faster one, and now they're really at the top of the line. And if you're going to do that for the normal lens, you might as well get the fast telephoto lens. At which point it's time to get a full-frame camera. Okay, now you're rolling along pretty good. But you decide, I'm going to get into macro photography, so you get the special macro lens on top of that. And then you've heard all this talk about prime lenses. Oh, I should have a 50 prime, because that's a good old standard lens. And you use this fast aperture lens, and suddenly a new world opens up. And you go, okay, got to have some more primes. So you get yourself a wide-angle prime and a nice little short telephoto prime for doing your portrait work. At which point, it's like all out. I'm going for the top-of-the-line camera now. And now there's no stopping you. You decide you're going to go with the tilt-shift lens. And there's really only one place to go at this point, and that's with the super telephoto lens. And after a little while of carrying all this around, you're thinking, you know what I would really like? It's just a nice little point-and-shoot camera. So that's what you can kind of expect. Quick note for the guys in the back, we seem to have both screens on mirror image. If I could see the behind the scenes notes, if you could switch that over, that'll help me out. I have a special screen that I get to see what's behind the scenes, and I have special notes there, and I don't know that I can do my class without it. So we're going to take just a moment while they hopefully switch things around in the back on the keynote. You need to switch off the mirroring thing. I don't know, are there any questions that we could quickly take while they're kind of moving that around? Not that we've gone through too much material.
We actually do have
We
questions.
just started and we already have questions.
Let's just take a question or two while they're fiddling around with
Okay, cool.
All right, let's start with this one from Sheriff El Abd. Can you elaborate more on ISO 50 compared to ISO 100? I think you talked a little bit about this yesterday, but
Right.
this might be from yesterday's course.
that. Right. Well, very few people have an option of ISO 50. Many cameras, actually like this 5D Mark III right here, the native or the best ISO on the camera is ISO 100. But there is a low setting of 50 that you can set if you want. But ISO 100 is where the sensor was designed for gathering light. And when you set it at ISO 50, what's essentially happening is that the sensor is receiving twice as much light as it should. And it's sending it through a little program to kind of fix that problem. And it's better that you just get the original information correct rather than trying to fix a little bit of a problem later on. So that's why you want to stay at 100 if you can rather than 50.
All righty, I think this one's a little bit more on topic with what we're talking about. This comes from Dave R.I. What's John's view on using telescopes as super telephoto lenses?
A telescope would be, well, if you already have it, it's an inexpensive, alternate lens. And there's a whole society into something that's called digiscoping. That's where you hook up, in general, a small digital camera to a spotting scope. And it's a very cheap way to get a very, very long telephoto lens. But the fact of the matter is that optically they're not nearly as good as a telephoto lens for a camera. For instance, like if you try to shoot through binoculars, those are designed for looking through with our eyes. And actually the cameras are far more accurate at recording the detail. So, we got a new screen up behind us here. Lost my train of thought there. So, they're okay, but you're not likely to get great image quality, and you're also not going to be able to autofocus. The other issue is that they're not as good as most of the lenses for bringing in light, so they're not as good under low light conditions.
Okay.
But, they can work out as a cheap alternate choice.
Okay.
Cool. Our good friend Sam Cox from Loveland, Colorado is already asking questions this morning. And he says, John, with all your experience, does it still take you some time to become familiar with a new camera or a lens? Do you have a regular way of getting to know your new hardware?
Okay, well, I'm like maybe the wrong person to ask right now because it was kind of weird because like I had to build the class for the 5D Mark III. I didn't own it, but I had to go through, take the camera out, shoot it, read the instruction manual, go through everything, practice it. And I didn't own the camera. And then several months later, I ended up buying the camera. And I picked it up. I'm like, oh, I already know where everything is. It's kind of fun. But thinking back about how I've experienced cameras in the past, there's definitely an initiation phase where you need to take your camera out. I don't know, it's kind of like getting a new car. You need to take it out, kind of give it a test drive and experience it. And so you just go out with time on your hands and no particular assignment. And, worst thing to do is, get a brand new camera and go on vacation, or a brand new camera and go on assignment and have a job that's paying and have something that's set on the camera that you didn't know about. But I think you really do need to sit down on the couch and just kind of carefully go through it step by step. And the fact of the matter is that there's a bunch of features in there you'll never use. And that's totally okay. They're just designed for other things. And I guess, should I promote my own fast start classes? A great way to get to know your camera is to go through one of my 5-hour classes, because we'll go through every button, every feature, every menu setting. I'll give you my recommendations on setting it up. And I think that will take you a long way to learning your camera.
Great.
Cool.
How are the screens looking? Should we keep
They're
going?
not quite there yet.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
they're
Well, we have
still
more
trying to
questions.
get the right screen around.
Well, I got one that might be a little controversial. Isabella Ringing is asking, who do you think makes the best third-party optics?
Best third-party optics, well, the major companies you got competing, in my opinion, would be Sigma, Tokina, and Tamron. And it depends on which lens you're talking about. Lately, the one that I think has some buzz running around it is Sigma. They came out with a 50mm 1.4 that works on both Canon and Nikon recently that did something quite a bit better than what their manufacturers did in some ways. They came out with an 85 1.4 that's looking very good. They just came out with a 120 to 300 that looks pretty nice. Tokina makes a really nice wide angle for those people who have crop frame sensors. And I've had some Tamron lenses in the past, and they have a really nice macro lens. The Tamron, I think it's a 90 macro. It's always been, I mean, even for the last 30 years, they've just always had a really good macro design. But they have a number of other lenses. So they each can do something well. It kind of depends on if they really choose to make a good lens.
Cook Esquire is wondering, are there cameras that give the opportunity to shoot both film and digital, or do you have to just choose film or digital for a certain type of shoot?
That was kind of the holy grail for quite a while, being able to shoot film or digital. And technically, you could buy some medium format cameras that have different backs on them. And Leica had a camera for a while that you could attach a digital back onto it. It didn't save you any money. And so it would be far, far cheaper these days just to go out and buy a used film camera because they're so cheap. I was just talking to the owner of one of the local camera stores here in Seattle, and he was talking about top-of-the-line Canon and Nikon cameras from a number of years ago that are $200 or $300. You know, cameras that were $2,000 are 1/10 the price now. And even, you know, a good intermediate level camera you could get for $50. And so there's no camera that you can do it simultaneously. That would be kind of interesting. Yeah, I think the used market for film cameras is easy pickings right now if you want a camera.
I know there's some great ones, really inexpensive on eBay and stuff too.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. This one comes from Phil Birdie. Not sure if you covered this yesterday, and you actually might be talking about this today. What does a teleconverter do to the f-stop?
The teleconverter, it depends on the teleconverter, but teleconverters usually come in two flavors, a 1.4 times converter and a 2 times converter. The 1.4 converter will drop 1 stop of light from your light gathering ability, and the 2 times converter will drop 2 stops of light. And if you remember the f-stops, we had f1, f1.4, 2.0, so it's kind of along those same lines. But just kind of, because we're trying to kill a little bit of time here while they're still fumbling around back there. I may have to go back there and show them how to do it. There's a new device out that's called a speed booster. I don't know if you've seen this, but if you have, for instance, you have a APS camera on yours. Well, if you put a full frame camera on, or full frame lens on that, you don't get that full frame sensor, right? Well, there's an adapter that you would put on your camera that would reduce the size of the image circle, and when it reduces it, it fits pretty much the whole image on there, so you don't lose the outside edge. And because it's concentrating the light in a smaller area, it's becoming brighter, and you gain a stop of light, which would be really cool. Because, for instance, you could take, and I think they've designed it for Sony cameras like you have. I forget if they've got it for Canon lenses or Nikon, or they may have both. You could take, let's just say, a Nikon 50mm 1.4 lens, and now it's going to give you the light of a 1.0 lens, which would be very, very interesting. Now, I forget if, and I'm not sure if it would give you the depth of field of a 1.0 lens, but it's an interesting concept.
Cool. All right. Dark Star is wondering, is the largest aperture at 55 millimeters the same on an 18 to 55 millimeter 3.5, 5.6 lens as it is on an 18 to 135 3.5 to 5.6 lens?
Okay, I thought they were going one direction with that question, and so you may need to read it again, because
Sure.
I thought I had it, and then they changed it up on me.
So both lenses are 3.5 to 5.6. One lens is 18 to 55 millimeter, and the
Okay.
other is 18 to 135
Okay.
millimeter.
Okay.
And at 55, set at 55
Right.
millimeters,
So
is the aperture the same?
No, it's probably not, because what's happening is the lens that has the larger zoom range reaches that 5.6 all the way up at 135, and if you were to zoom it back down to 50, it would probably be around, I would guess, 4.5 or 4, somewhere in there. And so it kind of changes in there. But that is something to kind of note if you do have a variable aperture zoom lens, is to zoom it out and see where that aperture changes, because sometimes it changes very quickly. As soon as you go from 18, it suddenly becomes f4, and then 4.5, and then it's 5.6 for most of the range. And in other lenses, it just varies a little bit.
Cool.
This is great. I mean, we have so many questions. We haven't even gotten started yet.
It's like we're having a bonus round
These are
of
people
Q&A.
from yesterday and Monday, and they're like, oh, freebie. I get to ask all those questions that I've had this entire time. So let's start with this one, and let's do this one as well. This one comes from Fashion TV from Singapore. John, how would you define an equipment check before setting off for an assignment? What exactly do you check? Do you have any tips?
Well, before I go out, say I go on vacation, I leave, I travel, and I'm taking my cameras with me. I'm going to want to make sure that my batteries are in working condition, so I'm just kind of keeping track of, do I have full life of batteries? One of my batteries I've been using for several years has kind of given me the warning that it's not got much life left. So I got to put a little label on that one to know that that's not the best battery in the world. And I may need to go out and buy a new battery for a backup on that one. I want to make sure that my sensor is clean because I want to deal with cleaning dust off my sensor at a nice, clean, dry, easy environment like at my home. And then I'll go through and I'll just kind of make sure that all my lenses are nice and clean and my filters are in good shape. If there's a moderate scratch, I might want to replace that filter ahead of time. Sometimes people keep the same camera bag around for a long time. Maybe you should take all your equipment out of the camera bag and kind of just shake out all the dust and gunk, because that's where a lot of dust in our cameras come from, is we have stuff kind of loose in our bags, and you can take a vacuum cleaner and clean it out or just shake it out really good. I'm trying to think, let's see, what else is really good. Just make sure that you leave the house with charged batteries and your charger that you have. And so,
sound advice.
Because, I don't recommend carrying the charger with you as you're roaming around town or traveling and things like that. So just sometimes if I go on a big trip, I put a checklist out. I want to have this lens, and this lens is maybe, and I'll decide as we go along the line. And I want to have these cleaning cloths and everything else.
Okay. Well, you mentioned keeping the sensor clean, checking to see if the sensor's dirty.
Right.
I've heard people talk about that before. I know there's a way to do that in the camera, right? How do you go about checking to see if your sensor has
It's real
anything
easy.
on
I
it?
just put a white piece of paper out on my desk and I shoot it at f/22 or 32
Okay.
or whatever the smallest aperture is. Because when you shoot it at the smallest aperture, you can see the dust more clearly.
Okay.
If you always shoot wide open, you're not going to necessarily see the dust.
Gotcha.
So you got to close it down. We're looking
Okay.
good now, guys.
Yeah?
I think so. I think we're going to be
Fantastic.
ready for action here. I apologize to everyone at home. There's a
All right.
lot of very sophisticated things going on behind the scenes.
Well, that's the beauty of live broadcasting, is that you never know what happens. But we got an extra Q&A in there, so that's good.
Revamped.
Yeah,
That's
but if
good.
we could get past this slide that I already went through, that would be great, guys. I think we need to be on like slide 8. And so, apologize for that. The wonders of live internet? I don't know.
Live broadcasting? All right,
Oh,
have-
we are here, folks.
Okay.
Yay.